What's up, YouTube? So I posted a video earlier about brief winch install, and I put the sport roof on it and some other things. Just figured I'd give you a walk around. I'm coming from a 2019 Terex, which I still currently own, but it was a little too big for a lot of the trails that I ride on. So I figured that, I wanted to go with a 50-inch to begin with when I bought the Terex. Problem was there's a lot of manufacturers' names out there that I really don't trust. I've been doing a lot of research, and this unit right here has been out on the market for quite some time now. I spoke with Brian Fisher of Fisher's ATV World. I also was following a guy on YouTube. It's called My ATV Life. He's very informative. Looks like he's had one of these Maverick Trails for quite some time now and hasn't really seemed to have too many problems, so I figured I'd give one of these a shot. I did get a chance to get down to my property with it. I have 30 acres in southern Ohio, and I'm pretty close to the Ohio Power, so I can do a lot of riding down there. Probably doesn't look like it's too dirty, but I did bring it back and wash it. It's pretty dry down there right now, actually. Not a whole lot of mud, so I didn't really get a chance to test it out as far as that's concerned. I'm not really, trying to get too deep into the mud anyway. That's not really my forte. Kind of been riding ATVs my entire life. I've had a lot of Grizzly 660s, the 700s. I've had just about every Suzuki King quad that you can imagine. Had the sport quads back in my day, the 250Rs, the Banshees, and well, with age comes a cage, as they say. So, anyway, this is pretty much just a walk around and my observations of this unit since I've picked it up. I've heard a lot of people talking about the rear suspension to start with, I guess, saying that it's a little stiff. I think it's pretty plush. I personally think that the whole thing rides nice. I do have all the settings set on the softest settings, and it still has an excellent ground clearance, and it doesn't really squat a whole lot. I've also heard some people talk about the stock tires that come with the unit. I'm pretty impressed with them myself. They seem to do the trick. So far, everything that I've discovered about the unit, I like personally. I actually love this little thing. It's really quiet. It's super peppy. Haven't really had a chance to try out the four-wheel drive a whole lot, simply because, well, like I said, it's pretty dry down in my area right now. I'm not really much into getting into mud, and I just basically use this to skirt around my property. My Terex, I ended up I'm kind of on the fence about keeping it or selling it. When I initially bought it, I was pretty happy with it. I mean, that thing rides like a Cadillac with those Fox shocks on there, but it's just too big. And I heard a lot of people talking about the excess noise on the Terex too. And at first it didn't really seem to bother me a whole lot, but man, that thing is loud. And the heat on it, I can personally live with it. It does get a little warm. But back to this one, this is basically going to be my go-to, I think. The Terex I'm either going to sell or I'm going to keep it to do my property maintenance. Surprisingly enough, this thing has it has a higher tow rating than my Terex. The tow rating on this is 1,500 pounds. I do have a small utility trailer that I can hook to it. I mean, obviously it doesn't have the dump bed that the Terex has, but I mean, it is what it is at this point. You can get some pretty good attachments that go with this, and it pulls some logs pretty good. I got my chain there. I pulled a few fell trees and drug them up by the wood pile to cut and split. Didn't have no problems there. Let's see, what else? The seats, everything on this thing's super comfy. The driver ergonomics is right where they should be. I mean, I don't think that you could get much more comfortable of a ride, as far as seating position and everything like that goes. The tilt steering is pretty awesome. That's nice that it comes with it. The seat adjusts back and forth. You don't have to pull the seat apart, undo some bolts, and then rebolt it back up. It slides back and forth pretty easy. So far, the only thing that I've discovered that I don't really like about this unit is everything on here is Torx bits. Everything. To me, that down the road sometime, if you have to do any kind of maintenance or repairs to this thing, it's just going to get to be a real pain. I actually rounded one of them out just putting this sport roof on. I believe it's this one right here. I rounded it out. That's another thing that I don't really care for. I mean, I love this roll cage, but I don't like the fact that it's not round. I understand why Can-Am did it. You know, you can do a lot of the attachments, and it's set up for it. But I just don't care for the fact that it's not round. That's why I ended up mounting my headlights up front right here, or my aux beam LEDs. I ended up mounting them up here, which I really don't care for. Sometime down the road, I may move that. I could have actually mounted them right here on this crossbar for the roll bar that goes across, but then I wouldn't have been able to keep my bags here. I couldn't have mounted them in the center because of this center bracket that goes right here for the sport roof. You're just, you know, the whole bar is pretty much blocked. So the Torx bits, in my opinion, are a big no-no. You know, that's just my opinion again. Another one of the things that I don't like is I had to go out and buy a threaded riveter set to put in the threaded inserts that go right here behind this, you know, where this bracket bolts into the roof. You had to buy a threaded riveter insert gun. And one thing that I've noticed on the bar, there's a spot for some more threaded inserts. There's a spot over there. There's a few other ones that I've noticed right here. You know, my big qualm, I guess, is if Can-Am's building this roll cage design for, you know, to quickly attach your accessories and everything like that, and they know that you're going to be putting it there, whether you are or whether you aren't, I personally think that there should already be some factory, you know, a nut there or some kind of thread, so you don't have to have a specialty tool to mount your accessories. Outside of that, you know, this thing performs awesome. I haven't really found anything else that I don't like about it. You know, obviously when I bought it, I knew that it didn't come with a dump bed, so that's not a big deal to me. I think it handles great. You know, everything about it's pretty good. I don't really have any complaints. It is super quiet. And this thing cruises great. I mean, it'll cruise 45, 50 mile an hour. Like, it's not even, you know, asking for any more. Whereas on my Terex, I mean, you're at 45 mile an hour and that thing sounds like it's going to blow up. Because it's just screaming at 45 mile an hour. For those of you guys that are looking to buy one of these, I don't know why, but when I went to the dealership and purchased this, I actually mentioned this in my brief install of the winch and my accessories that I got. I don't know why that it's changed, but the 2020 models no longer come with these LED strips already in place. It's pretty much an add-on accessory now, which is $220. I ended up obviously going with the 2019 simply because of the rebates. You know, I got some pretty good rebates on it. But had it not been for the rebates, I still probably would have bought the 2019 version, simply because there's some things about the 2020 that I don't like. The LED trim rings is one of them, obviously. And secondly, I noticed that none of the toggle switches are on the 2020 model as well. The only toggle switch that you get is your four-wheel drive. Your rear differential lock and your sport and econo mode are now toggled through this right here, which I'm not a big fan of. I prefer just to be able to reach down and flip a switch. You know, maybe they did it to either cut cost or they think that it's more, you know, like, oh, you don't have to worry about a toggle switch going bad, but I'd rather replace a $10 toggle switch as opposed to if something goes wrong with this display. That's a couple of the things that I noticed about the 2020s. You know, if anybody's in the market, I prefer the toggle switches. I mean, obviously to each his own, but that's where I stand. Putting in accessories is super easy on this thing. If you buy anything from Can-Am, it's pretty much plug and play. The winch that I bought is a Can-Am 4500 with the synthetic rope, and you have to buy an additional wiring harness for $61 or something like that, but it's totally worth it because it's literally plug and play. It's super easy to put on. When you're putting your inserts, when you're putting your new toggle switches in, it's not like the Kawasaki Terex where you actually have to cut out the square. Even though, the Kawasaki, when they did it, they still, it was outlined and it was already almost pretty much pre-cut. You just had to trim it with a razor. These, however, they just, they have a black cover on here that just pops right out with a screwdriver. And I actually kept my inserts so that they could be reused again. But the winch pretty much worked flawlessly. I used it to get the tree out of my property, and then I used the chain to pull it. So the winch worked really great. Again, that was the Can-Am 4500 model with the synthetic rope. And these McTuning, the McTuning switch that I have in here, which is the squatch lights, which I just absolutely love. I think it's hilarious. When I bought these aux beams, however you want to pronounce it, off of Amazon, this is actually like the 4th or 5th pair that I've owned, and these were some extras that I had left over that I was going to attach to the front of my Terex. I already have some mounted in the back. These lights are just awesome. You get a super deal on them. They're super cheap and they're super bright. But what I do when I get these, I always buy the McTuning switches. I've never had any problems with those. And then you can also get a McTuning wiring harness, and it's pretty much just plug and play as well. That's something else that I want to touch base on when you're installing your accessories. I've seen some videos online where a lot of people are running their accessories, for these Maverick Trails back to their battery. On these models, there is actually it's a charging block that's mounted right underneath the dash, and it's already pre-wired. It has your positive battery cables running to it, your negative battery cables, and then it also has an accessory spot on it. If you look up underneath your dash, you'll see it. It's marked and tagged. So to me, that's pretty great. It keeps things from getting cluttered up around your battery for easy removal. And so I think that works out pretty good. I like it a lot because it's super simplified. It's a little tight underneath there. When I was trying to put the winch in the solenoid switches, you got to do a lot of twisting and contorting. If you're a bigger guy, you might have some problems. I'm 5'10", 200 pounds, and I had to cram myself in there pretty good to get up underneath there. But all in all, it cleaned up really nice. The Can-Am wiring harness that comes with it is already wrapped in all the sheathing, so it looks really good, really good and clean, so you don't have to worry about a bunch of loose wires and stuff hanging around. That's really about all I can think of for right now. I just wanted to give my walk around and my impressions. I've been in the off-road world for 27 to 30 years. I'm 45 years old now. And I've had a lot of units. I'm not saying I'm the authority on them, but, I just wanted to give you my opinion. I do all my own installs on any kind of electronics or winches. I basically work on a lot of my own equipment as well, as long as it's not covered underneath a warranty. So if anybody has any questions about anything or some installs or, just feel free to shoot me a message or, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. I just wanted to give you a rundown and let you know what I thought about the 2019 Maverick Trail that I got and the differences between the 2019 and the 2012, or the 2020, my bad. So if you like what you see here, give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks for watching, guys.